Hi everyone and welcome to protip.js number 2. This is actually one of 3 pro tips we're going to deliver today, tomorrow and the day after that, all around date and time formatting. Today we're seeing date and time formatting, tomorrow we'll see date and time range formatting, and finally we'll go with relative dates and time distances. So let's start right now with date and time formatting cleanly using your locale in JS. So let's talk about the methods that have been in date forever, despite their being fixed format and so not really suitable for displaying text to humans according to their locale. First, dates have a toString method, which is like this, and it's sort of an RFC 5322 format, much like most headers in internet protocols, but not exactly so. And you will have your date string, really, which also exists, concatenated to the time string, which includes the time zone name. That time zone name is actually the only part that will use your active locale in its display. The rest is hard-coded. There's been toUTC string, which has replaced toGMT string, because UTC sort of depreciated GMT a while ago, which still doesn't prevent time zone designators to use GMT, as we see here. And then the very useful toISO string, which uses the ISO 8601 standard for serialization, which you can find in JSON, most XML formats, and many others. So that's actually the default JSON serialization for dates. So all of these are nice, but they are not locale aware. They are not how users expect their dates and times to be displayed according to what they've seen all around them their entire life. So how do we go about this? Well, we have the Intl API. Okay, that API is what provides JavaScript with direct access to the entire corpus of the CLDR, the Common Local Data Repository, that is present in pretty much every OS, and that weighs around 30 megabytes of data. And Intl API has been there forever. It's ECMAScript standard 402. It is what underpins the formatting parts of such libraries as Luxon or Datafans or Date.js or JSJoda, out of these. And please stop using Moment. Even the Moment team has advocated for that for ages. So Intl.DateTimeFormat is the main constructor that most people are aware of. By default, it will use the default locale for the environment. I'm currently in an US English locale. So if you look at my format here, you see that this is a numeric format. By default, we are in a short date style, and I can change that. First, I can provide one or more locales, so I could go with the French, right? So these are what are called BCP47 codes. So there's at the very least a language code. I would strongly suggest that you also provide a country code. For instance, UK and US English don't exactly align, if only for the month. Numeric part. French from France or Canada or Belgium is vastly different when it comes to formatting. So always provide the country code. You could go much more refined than that, but I would advise against it. And now you can also provide many options, but the ones we're really interested in are the ones that follow the habits and customs in the locale. So we'll go with dead style first. And dead style can take one of 4 values. By default, we are at short. You can go medium. In French, we would have an abbreviated month name. Long would have the full month name, and full would have the weekday in full as well. So that's mercredi 26 octobre 2022. These are going to be different depending on the language, of course, depending on the locale. For instance, the medium format in Germany does not have an abbreviated month name in text. I would have to go to long to start seeing this. Right? Same goes for, I don't know, like Japanese, for instance. Japanese starts using kataganas from the long format on. So those are the kataganas to say that's a year, that's a month, that's a day. But if you're a bit shorter than that, you would remain numerical and with the year, month, and date. So this is all very locale dependent. By default, we only display dates, but we could also display time or even just time by not providing an explicit date style and only a time style. And you can provide time according to various ways. So for instance, let me get back to American English, for instance. And this is a short time on a medium date. If I go longer, you'll see there's a conjunction coming in here. There's that at conjunction that comes when the date is long enough. And you'll find that in most languages. Again, for instance, if I go with French, I'll get the A with a grave accent, so A, which doesn't show up when I'm at a shorter date form. Same for German, for instance. The is here about this, and short will give you only the minutes, and from medium and upwards, you'll have at least the seconds, possibly the time zone, stuff like that. And talking about time zones, you can obviously provide time zone information. So by default, it's going to be in your local environment time zone. But so for me, that's Europe/Paris time zone. But I could explicitly go, okay, let's go America West Coast. So let's go with America Los Angeles. And you can see it's at 12 a.m. 12 a.m. is midnight. And that's a 9-hour offset with France, which makes sense. We're still in DST, both of us. But if I am 1 month later, I'm still going to retain a 9-hour because we're both going to be in winter time, in non-daylight savings time. But for instance, on the 4th of November, which happens to be my birthday, Europe has shifted back to non-DST, but the US is waiting for an extra week before it does. So we're only 8 hours offset from the West Coast. And obviously, this is all handled properly by the time zone management in the INTL API. One last thing I'd like to mention is about performance and not creating too many objects. If you find yourself formatting again and again using the same formatting system, please do not create a new DateTimeFormat instance every time. It is way too greedy on CPU and memory. You should absolutely take that formatter out and make it some form of a module level singleton, if you will, like this, and then you can use that in your helper function. You're going to use that same formatter again and again. Now, if you do have just a couple one-off formatting needs, it's a bit overkill to create that formatter and then format it on your date. Like this, right? Yeah, that's a bit too much. That's a bit verbose. So if you actually just needed this once and not go further than that, you can absolutely use a shortcut. You've got the toLocale string, toLocale date string, and toLocale time string. So toLocale string will take exactly the same options as the DateTimeFormat constructor, and it will behave the same way. It will just create that DateTimeFormat on the fly for you, use it and discard it. toLocale time string will behave the same, except no date level option is allowed. Same thing for toDateString, where no time level option is allowed.